Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rainbows, and we're making a fun drop cloth gnome banner. I'm making mine for holidays. If you would like to make him, just boop, stick around. As always, please give this video a like so that I know you're here crafting. I will put all of the supplies down below, but we're basically just going to start out with drop cloth. 8.5 by 8 3/4 high for our almost square, but it's a rectangle. And then we're just going to cut it to where the bottom is even. So I measured 8 3/4, and then we'll fold it in half. Now I'm using drop cloth because it's cheap and it's stiff, which will allow my banner piece to hold its shape. If I were using cotton, which you totally can, I would add an infusible fleece or some kind of backing to it. In order to create the pennant shape, I'm going to measure 3 inches up on the cut side and 1/4 inch from the folded edge. And then I'm going to make sure my pin is out of the way here. And I'm going to cut that into just between those 2 points. Now make sure you're not cutting all the way to the fold, because we do need our seam to line up into a point. I'll show you that right here. Because this is drop cloth, you can actually just burn these edges if you want, but I'm going to, here's my thing. Be careful on your hot glue. We're just going to finger press these edges and then hot glue them down, so it's really easy. But I mismeasured. I'll show you my mistakes. You guys know I do not hide them. So when I did the hot glue, got my finger guard, I put like a bead of hot glue, but then I moved it around with the tip of the Surebonder mini glue gun, only because I don't want a big clump of glue to come through the drop cloth. Okay, so just did this on all sides. You can see how it comes to a point. And then make sure you get glue down the top. So speaking of the top, we're going to be doing this. We're not going to be moving it together yet, but I'm just going to show you that top bit is what's holding it on. I bought this adorable gnome. It was an outline from Design Bundles. I'll link it down below, but it didn't have a background. So I put it into Illustrator, changed the present to a heart, and created a white silhouette, which you can do all of that inside of Cricut Design Space. But that software makes me stabby, so I don't use that software for this. So I'm just going to size it to my project, and then I'm going to turn everything off except the white. So I cut the white first because that is the background, and I want to make sure I have everything sized perfectly and being built on top of that background. So while everything cuts, I go ahead and weed. This is heat transfer vinyl, which is a cold peel for mine, because these are the sheets. And I do like this vinyl. It's just, if you're not used to cold peel, that just means that you have to wait until it cools down before you can take off the carrier sheet. So you can see here, we cut the shiny side down. We have a carrier sheet here. And now I'm going to attach that carrier sheet with heat transfer vinyl tape, or no, heat safe tape. Good Lord, I don't know what it's called. But it means I can put heat on it. And speaking of the heat, I'm using an Easy Press Mini. You can use a small iron, but here's one big thing to note. I will show you my mistake, but I want to tell you about it now. I was very careful when I did this initial press not to get anywhere close to the seams that we made, because the heat will actually melt that hot glue again and it will seep up. So you can see here, I'm waving it because I'm literally the most impatient person in the world. And so because it's cold peel, I have to wait until it cools down before I can remove that carrier sheet. If you are building things this way, keep that carrier sheet. We're going to need it in a minute. I'm just going to go ahead and line up my layers here. So I attached all of the black and cut one layer, and now I'm going to attach that. At this point, you could add all 3 of the layers on with some strategic cutting of your carrier sheets, but I want to show you how I layer. It's pretty simple. I'm only pressing for just a little bit so I can just get it attached, and then I'm going to press the entire thing. So the last layer here I'm adding, oh no it's not. Second to the last layer here I'm adding is all that red. Again, I attached it in Design Space so I didn't have to line up each individual piece. And now I'm missing my nose, which was, by the way, stuck to my arm. So I'm going to go ahead and push this down, or push the nose down, go ahead and give it a couple seconds worth of heat, and then peel the carrier sheet off. Remember when I said we needed that big backing for our silhouette? Well, this is why. Now I'm going to go ahead and press the entire design. And this is really where it's going to be bonding not only to itself, but to the fabric all around. Now, once that's cool, I'm just going to remove that entire carrier sheet and toss it, because we're done with that. I'm going to burn any strings that came out, and now it's time to measure for our text. Here is my mistake. I measured a little too far, meaning I measured to the edge of my seam, which would be super if I managed not to get heat on it. As with all HTV, I went ahead and mirrored this and then weeded out the Gnome Sweet Home. Still at this point, don't realize my mistake. And put my heat transfer or heat tape down. And I even mentioned to myself, Sarah, be mindful of the edges. And look what I do, right on the edge. See, be mindful of the edges because the hot glue will seep through. So you will see at this point, I was already too late. It did seep through. So just FYI, I will be adding, when we decide on our holiday decor, I will be adding edges of decoration over my hot glue edges, but I don't want to hide that stuff from you all, right? I think it's a learning experience. All right, last little bit here, we're going to attach it to our dowel. This is just a dowel I bought in a huge pack on Amazon. Pretty easy peasy. I measured between 1/2 and 3/4 inch so it'll have a hangover. Grab some scissors, cut it just like that. Use the handy dandy sanding sponge to take that edge off. And now tuck it up to the very, very top and glue from the middle. I've made a lot of these over the years and will tell you, starting from the middle, way better for keeping everything aligned. So we're going to do the same thing with the hot glue. Just make sure you spread it around. Make sure it's not one big glob and make sure it's not too globby. You can go a little bit more there on the edges because it will be hidden. I just tied a piece of white yarn as my hanger, and now I'm going to add a line of hot glue to the edge. I'm going to make sure it's all lined up, pull the knot to the back, and then add this line of hot glue, and then just twist the yarn around and press it into the banner. I'm going to cut off any excess and then glue that edge down. And like I said, you can decorate it any way you want, but you see on each side there, my hot glue came through right when I pressed it over the text. I don't want you to do that, so I do want you to keep that in mind. Hey, let me know down below, what do you think of this? Is this a fun craft? Let me know in the comments if you're gonna make them, and as always, please like and subscribe for more crafty, fun